This is part two of my journey through Jungian psychology and Jungian archetypes to understand the modern or postmodern soul. So let's begin. In Jungian psychology, the anima symbolizes the feminine within the male psyche, while in women, it naturally represents the dominant feminine aspect. This manifestation in the male mind acts as a conduit to the collective unconsciousness, embodying qualities like intuition, raw emotion, and receptivity. As the anima evolves throughout psychological development, it undergoes phases that manifest in changes to the conscious ego, facilitating individualization simultaneously. The anima mirrors the integration of the shadow self, the unconscious, unrealized, often repressed impulses, instincts, and desires. The shadow projects its contents into the anima, making the anima a vessel for both potential growth and potential self-destruction. Confronting the anima becomes crucial for self-discovery or self-awareness, demanding recognition and integration of shadow elements for mental equilibrium. Mental balance. Essentially, the anima can be both a guide to self-awareness in reality or absorption into fantasy. The psyche as the self encompasses the individual's consciousness and unconsciousness. It serves as the unchanging center that integrates all aspects of the self, offering identity and purpose, symbolically represented in dreams through mythological archetypes. The psyche transcends the ego's limitations. The persona is the vital expression of the human psyche. It is the social mask individuals adopt for navigating the real world. Shaped by societal expectations, it projects one's personality and evolves in response to social context. The dissonance between persona and authenticity emphasizes the need for introspection, self-awareness, and integration for an authentic expression of one's psyche to express itself as a true personality in actual lived reality. In Jungian psychology, the Freudian superego finds its counterpart within the broader conceptualization of the psyche, particularly in the collective unconscious. While collective unconscious and the unconscious might sound like woo terminology, to quote one viewer of mine, these are tied into traditional psychological understandings of the human mind. While Freud's superego embodies internalized societal rules, Jung expands this perspective to encompass the persona, anima, and animus. Jung's archetypes, like the wise old man or the great mother, represent collective aspects influencing lived moral principles. Thus, in Jungian psychology, the superego's role is incorporated in a broader spectrum than in Freud's understanding. The id, the ego, the anima, and animus are pivotal components in the complex architecture of the psyche. The ego serves as the conscious, rational center engaging with the external world. Jung expands Freud's model, introducing anima and animus, archetypal representations of the opposite gender within one's own psyche, connecting individuals to deeper instinctual levels and serving as gateways for the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious to connect to and communicate with each other. The shadow self is a repository of repressed aspects of the self, encompassing both desirable potentials and undesirable potentials. Integrating the shadow is crucial for individualization, where hidden facets are confronted and assimilated into conscious awareness. The shadow holds not only negative destructive urges, but also latent creative desires and unrealized potentials that could be unrealized strengths or unrealized weaknesses that enrich one's personalities when acknowledged, integrated, and actualized in healthy and acceptable expressions. Paganism's symbolic richness aligns well with Jung's concept of archetypes, where gods and goddesses embody universal expressions of human experience. Pagan rituals and myths express archetypal patterns which shape human consciousness, which facilitate relatively safe interactions with the deeper psyche. Folklore, fairy tales, and old wives' tales are profound repositories of archetypal symbols and collective wisdom, reflecting universal aspects of the human psyche. Jung saw expressions of psychological forces such as the shadow, the anima, and the animus, and the self in these narratives, and saw story as an aid in decoding the symbolic language of the unconscious. So here are some of Jung's archetypes. Mind you, we are concentrating on the male anima right now, so that's where we're going to be going. Elves and fairies. These archetypes may represent slightly different things within the female psyche. As in the female psyche, the anima should be the dominant force and the animus should be the slightly less dominant unconscious force. Anyway, let's continue on. Let's not worry about healthy and unhealthy aspects of the psyche, as we talked about that in the last video, and we will probably talk about that again in the next. Elves and fairies symbolize the anima in the collective unconscious, serving as bridges between conscious and unconscious realms in story. Nymphs, dryads, and naiads represent elemental forces embodying connections between the human psyche's imaginative inner world and the external natural world. Nymphs signify emotional flow. Dryads represent grounding, and naiads symbolize the earthly material aspects of the unconscious. These mythical beings invite the acceptance of one's role in the natural world inherent to one's innate nature. Mythological figures like the Valkyries, Amazons, and warrior goddesses symbolize the blend of wisdom and compassion in martial prowess. The Valkyries represent the transformative aspects of the anima, guiding the worthy chosen after death, that is, those who died a noble, glorious death for a righteous cause. Amazons, strong and independent, embody the anima's reflection of male nature in the female to the male imagination. Athena, a warrior goddess, harmoniously integrates intellect and martial prowess, signifying self-control and self-mastery. The Pythia and the Sibyl, rooted in classical mythology, manifest the anima as intermediary between conscious and unconsciousness, delivering symbolic messages from the subconscious or unconscious mind to the conscious mind. Cybele, the mother goddess, embodies the feminine, sensual, and chaotic aspects of the anima, reflecting transcendent and transformative qualities. Her myth echoes life's cyclical nature and the individualization process, with rituals symbolizing the phases of psychosexual development. The serpent, deeply ingrained in the collective unconscious, symbolizes transformation, renewal, and wisdom, embodying both anima and animus archetypes. Its dual nature parallels psychological growth, representing the animas and animus's potential to bring out both physical harm in the real world and metaphysical healing in the metaphysical world. Lucifer, or Satan, represents the shadow feminine, that is, the dark qualities of the anima, challenging established norms and embodying feelings of suppression, rejection, and underestimation on behalf of the self and on behalf of the anima. This rebellious spirit reflects or is a reaction to religions and the culture at large, rejection of intuition, natural wisdom, common sense, and creative chaos. Baal, Azazel, or Azazel, and Mephistopheles also symbolize the dark side of the anima in a similar way, associated with rebellious forces challenging societal norms. Baal embodies primordial aspects of the anima. Azazel confronts societal taboos, and Mephistopheles, or Mephisto, represents destructive compromise. The Bacchae and the Dionysia offer insights into the human psyche. Bacchia symbolizes unconscious, instinctual urges to liberate chaotic aspects of the feminine principle. Dionysus, as a god of ecstasy, represents the desire for ritualistic engagement, blurring conscious and unconscious boundaries. And yes, Dionysus here is a representative of the feminine. The mania or mania, Lysa, and Eris are anima figures embodying madness, rage, and discord. Mania represents the chaotic aspect of the anima. Lycia personifies destructive rage, and Eris embodies the potential for disharmony and dysphoria in the unconscious mind. These figures symbolize the animalistic aspects of the anima and the shadow feminine, emphasizing the dangers of neglecting, ignoring, or failing to assimilate and control these aspects of the anima. Many followers of Dionysus symbolize collective feminine aspects in the male unconscious. Engaging in ecstatic rituals, they unleash unconscious urges associated with the anima when expressed collectively. These are the feminine desires that want to be expressed in a group of individuals. Calypso and Morgan Le Fay, complex, seductive figures, symbolizing the anima's sensual and seductive aspects. They embody the anima's dual nature, capable of both its constructive and destructive influences, revealing its potential to be both guide or adversary. Aphrodite and Venus represent the anima's potential to symbolize love, beauty, harmony, and the capacity to be desired, reflecting societal attitudes toward these ideas and these concepts. Magic, alchemy, and chemistry represent transformative processes. Magic reflects the primeval means of understanding the unconscious self through mysticism. Alchemy reflects a more medieval method of understanding the self through blending religion with science. And chemistry represents a more scientific and biological or materialistic method for understanding the self. That is, to understand the self as chemicals and biological reactions and neurons firing, that kind of stuff. Mysticism, philosophy, and science represent interconnected facets of the psyche's quest for understanding. Mysticism represents the primeval meditative process for understanding the inner self. Philosophy reflects rational and logical ways of understanding the inner self. And science represents understanding the self through empirical and methodological means. The interplay between these approaches aid in creating a structured approach to self-discovery. The feminine triad, the Great Mother, the Love Goddess, and feminine youthfulness symbolize a holistic, general way of viewing the feminine psyche as a whole, kind of like in a broad overview. The Great Mother represents both nurture and nature. The Middle Goddess represents the anima's transformative power, and feminine youthfulness symbolizes vitality, naivete, innocence, and the need for protection. And again, we're talking about within the male mind and the male concept of the self. These are the feminine aspects of the male mind expressing themselves through these representations in these archetypes. The three weird sisters associated with fate and prophecy represent the anima's capacity to produce potentials that are nurturing, destructive, and transformative. They are associated through the animus with gifting the psyche with intuition and the ability to interpret symbolic analogies. They embody the triple goddess archetype representing the maiden, the mother, and the crone. These stages mirror how men perceive women and thus interpret their own inner feminine, the anima. Hecate, or Hecat, associated with crossroads, magic, and the realms between realities, symbolizes the anima's transformative nature. Her triadic nature mirrors the anima's aspect of maiden, mother, and crone. She guides the psyche which is the self, to hidden potentials, facilitating individualization, self-realization, and self-actualization. For Jung, Christianity is seen as the resolution to the unintegrated pagan mind. These unintegrated archetypes and aspects we have been speaking of. Paganism, with its polytheistic beliefs, represents the unintegrated aspects of the collective unconsciousness. Christianity, as a monotheistic religion, unifies these diverse elements into one unity of Christ. Christianity challenges and orders the chaotic aspects of paganism, emphasizing a single divine narrative in the Bible and a single ultimate human archetype in the figure of Christ, bringing order to the unintegrated psyche. The interplay between pagan and Christian symbolism mirrors or parallels the ongoing evolution of the human mind, reflecting the psyche's journey towards self-realization and self-actualization. This is how the anima spirit is an aspect of the soul, that is the psyche or the self, and how the soul represents this part of itself to the male mortal human mind, at least according to C.G. Jung. Peace.